Hey, you guys, welcome back to Brownie's Judgment. I'm your host, Zuli, and today I wanted to talk about transformation. So, in our last episode, we kind of talked about transitions and that transitional period of physical, mental, social aspects in our life. And I kind of just wanted to piggyback on that and just kind of create this in a sort of triple threat sort of thing and talk about the actual transformation itself and what that can look like for us as individuals. And it can really feel a bit paralyzing in a sense whenever we get to this transformative stage, because, you know, when you're in the transitional phase, you're moving, you're trying to get everything taken care of, and you're just like going through the motions of making sure that you attain like these certain goals, these certain milestones in order for you to get to this transformational period. But when you get to the transformational period, it can feel like, okay, I got to where I wanted to be. Like, how do I stay here? What is it gonna look like? Like that kind of thing, you know? So, transformation, when I talk about physical transformation, it doesn't necessarily have to be, sort of like fitness related or weight loss or whatever, but transformation can also be, like someone that was bedridden and they were able to heal from that. Transformation physically can also be someone that is recovering from substance abuse, that has recovered and are in this new physical body. Like I also said, like being bedridden as well, like your body looks different once you're able to get those proper nutrients and the proper, physicality needed to be able to sort of keep up with that. And then, of course, there is the physical element of someone maybe who wanted to gain weight and has, or somebody that wanted to lose weight and has, or someone that wanted to have like a more fitter physique and they have, So when we get here, when we're at this healthier body, the question is, how do we not sabotage it, right? Because ultimately, whenever we think about it, it's easy to want to sabotage that sort of progress that has been made, because when there's nothing as much to do, when we're in that maintenance period, I think that's whenever it can get a bit tricky, because ultimately, when you think about it, when you're in that transition period, there's always something to do. Like I mentioned, milestones, whatever. But when we get to the transformation, when we're finally there, when we finally stopped doing the substances, when we finally stopped having that illness, or when we finally stopped, and achieved what we needed to, even after years of wanting to get to this physical, sort of goal, what happens now? Because now we're here and I'm standing in front of the mirror and I see a version of myself that I don't recognize, and I wonder, does this actually belong to me? Like, it's kind of like that imposter syndrome, in a sense of wondering whether or not this is actually something that I deserve. Is it something that I did myself? Did I do something? Did I cheat myself? Like things like that. And I think whenever those thoughts start to come, it can feel is not only just paralyzing, but it can create self-doubt in one's own goals and accomplishing them. And I say that because whenever you hit that transformation and you've made it, it's like your mind sometimes tries to play tricks and say, no, but you didn't really do it, because like now that you've made it, oh, now you have to do this, now you have to do that to make sure that it stays this way. And that sounds very exhausting, right? And maybe you're here, maybe you're not, maybe you're in the transitional period and you're scared to get in the transformation. But you're working towards something, right? That maintenance period of achieving transformation is one that can be mundane, I won't lie. it can be not exciting, right? It can be boring and just ordinary, and like it's easy to want to have that fix in something else and find something else to fixate on instead of truly sitting down and accepting and appreciating, being grateful for this transformation, right? There's people who do amazing transformational physical transformations. And everyone celebrates them. They're like, yes, you did it. I'm proud of you. But once they get there, no one's there to tell them, hey, you've made it. I'm proud of you. Let me be here with you after the fact too. Because that part's important as well. Especially with people who deal with imposter syndrome, which is basically believing that you're not who or what you accomplished, even though it rightfully belongs to you. Transformation is totally worth it. Don't get me wrong. Physical transformation, 100% go for it. But transformation wouldn't be transformation without that mundane part after it. And the reason why I emphasize it and I stress it and I talk about it is because if somebody is unprepared for that feeling and isn't, how do I say, aware of it, then it can be easy to try to revert back to the beginning so that way the fix can be there all over again. You know what I mean? And it's best definitely to gravitate towards a different goal. Of course, have this one in the back of my mind, hey, I know I did this to get here, but I can tone it down a little bit and still maintain what I have, like that kind of thing, And I think when we think about how difficult it was to get to where you wanted to be. And remembering all the sacrifices, the challenges, the obstacles, the voices, whether from yourself or from others, or the judging looks or anything like that. Remember that. And that mundane part. That in order to have gotten to that mundane, you had to go through the hard. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I do believe in the saying that once you work hard for something, not that you don't have to anymore, it almost makes you feel like it wasn't that hard because you achieved it. But the reality is that that's not true. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we have to really sit with. Like, wow, just because I accomplished what I wanted to doesn't mean that it doesn't undermine that success of accomplishing what was done. You know what I mean? And the next one I really wanted to talk about was mental and emotional health, like transformation of that, Of course, I want to talk about good transformations and stuff like that. And the reason why I want to mention mental health and that transforming that is because when someone goes from a place of constant battering of themselves as an individual, comes from a place of being harassed as an individual, or by other people or themselves, or they have the incapability to accept that they are loved, or this person may think that they don't deserve any good that comes into their life. Like that kind of train of thought and that mental, emotional aspect of our lives that can really hinder us from achieving the things that we want, or being with the people that we want, or anything. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like what I'm just trying to explain, is that after you hit that transitional phase and you get into this transformational stage of, hey, I'm here, I've worked on myself, whether it was therapy or being in, these sort of groups or whatever, or getting psychiatric treatment. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's situation can be different. Or, talking to loved ones, building your relationships around you. Like, for everyone, it looks different, and then it also goes back to physical health. Maybe working on that physical health helped with the mental health. Mental and physical health are very much interchangeable. That's why I really do believe in when someone is more emotionally vulnerable, it's easier for them to get sick physically because it's just hard to like regulate the body if like the emotions are everywhere. Like it's a real thing, you know. And I want to say in preface that mental and emotional health is unseen. Like how I talked about in the in the transitional period, nobody's going to be able to see that the way they're going to be able to see that physical change. You know what I mean? So that's like a pro and con to it, because like physical health, if someone's seeing changes, they can comment and try to like derail you, make you feel like, hey, like what you did, like that's actually not like, that didn't happen. But mental health is quiet. It's in the back of your mind. It's before you go to sleep. It's when you're in the shower, when you're washing dishes, when you're in your car. Like, no one sees that, And when you finally get into the place intrinsically that emotionally you're more stable and your mental health is also more stable, that is definitely also something that's worth it. And when you finally get to that healthy place, that healthier place, the imposter syndrome can also kick in as well, because it feels like, oh, like I made it. Like why am I here? Like, how did I do it? And then like, I think it can be easy to try to revert back as well, because trying to understand like how we ended up in this good place versus like where we used to be, it can be easy to try to like repeat those defense mechanisms that existed before this healthier state of mental health, like pushing people away, being codependent, being aggressive, or whatever. Like for everyone, it looks a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's critical that we don't revert back to those old habits that we had to let go of and fight day and night to not be where we are now. I mean, to be where we are now. I just realized I said that backwards, so I had to pause for a second. But listen, like I said, it's worth it. And don't ever undermine it, Especially, I can understand like both of these things, physical and mental, emotional health, can take years to get into a stable place. So please don't try to take that away from yourself, Like, be in this transformation stage and accept that you have done what you've done, but you've grown from it and now you're here. Don't ever take that away from yourself. So I've talked about physical, mental / emotional, and then finally, the last one I want to talk about obviously is social. Whether it's a situation with school, work, job, whatever, career, anything in that regard that involves like other people coming into this, right? Then I've talked about, obviously in the mental, emotional health, like, there people can affect that. But socially, it directly involves other people because of the fact that it requires a network, a community of people to be able to accomplish it, right? Like you go to work, in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have to rely on other people, and other people are going to have to rely on you. Same with school, right? You have those discussion posts. You know what I mean? And even new social circles. I haven't even mentioned that, but that's a thing too. Sometimes after having this transformation and growing, more often than not, if someone's friends were holding them back in the sense of like where they needed to be, then they might have to loosen their bond with certain individuals in that social group, or let go of the social group completely, or avoid just one person. I mean, I don't know. Like, everyone's social groups are different. Maybe the transformation is getting a social group in general. Maybe the person refused to interact with others, and then now they have this desire because now they're in a better state of mind. I think it's just so fascinating. I'm just thinking about it right now, how every single individual has a different walk of life, different perspective, different I mean, I don't know, everything, like, everyone looks different and everybody thinks differently, and raised differently, cultural wise, religion wise. I mean, anything is just, it's just so cool for me to like really think about that, you know? And for that, I say, when it comes socially, when you finally got into that good place to where you can interact with others socially well and all that, you know, because I mean, socially you might not struggle, maybe you do, but I'm finding more often than not people are, right? Like connecting with people, being vulnerable, whatnot. When you're finally in that place, don't sabotage that because you worked for that. Because even me in my life, I know that there was like times where I really isolated myself from everyone, and I thought that it'd be easier for everyone if I didn't like say anything, because I thought socially that was better for everyone. But then when I did that, I realized that the people who I was socially interacting with, that it affected them as well, because maybe they thought that I didn't care, but it's not true. It's not that I didn't care, I just couldn't. And eventually, you know, I mentioned it, and they understood, and I think they knew, but they gave me that space to be able to combat that, you know. And whenever I was ready to have that help again, they were there for me, you know. And I'm not gonna say that that's not the case for every single person. I know that, but I'm saying, like I said, that's what I'm talking about, you know, this socially thing, because you're at this transformation stage, so you're there too, you know. And if you're not, you know, go back to that transitional phase and keep trying again and again and again, because it's worth it. You need people around you. We're social creatures. Like, everyone says it. Like, why does everyone say that? Because it's true. As annoying as it may sound, maybe we're hearing the same things over and over again because we're meant to learn it. Listen, you guys, transformation's weird, it's tricky, don't get me wrong, but it's so worth it. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. That's going to be the end of our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening in and spending time here on Brownie's Judgment. Catch you guys in the next one. And as always, God bless.